Hello and welcome to the channel again. This is Sam trying to spin to win on Zwift. Well, after 10 straight days of FRR racing and now a few days off, I really felt like I needed to sign up to a more normal race, if you will. And I found a really good one, I think. A real proper Battle of the North. So this is stage 2 out of 5 of the Vinterfajten or Winter Fight series. I missed the first one, unfortunately, due to FRR racing, but this one looks really well attended, so should be a good one. And there are a lot of Swedish riders here, and I mean a lot, and quite a few of my Swedish Zwifter teammates as well. So it's time to bring the fight home.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Deviating a bit from the Nordic theme though, we will actually do one lap on the R.G.V course in France. Now, normally the finish on this course, I would think would either be a long drawn out effort on the various bumps, that's towards the end of the course, leading to a reduced bunch sprint, or frankly, just a full-on bunch sprint, because I don't know if the course is normally selective enough to cause big splits and selections in the peloton.
This will be a sprint segment!
But it's actually my understanding that this is a combined start pen for all categories. So if the guys and girls in the top category decide to push hard,
we can crush you.
Well, I suppose there could be splits happening at any point during this race. But before we get into the action, let's have a quick look at the competition I'll be facing today. Ah, the North. Full of gentle souls that just want to get on. Hold on, what am I talking about? These guys and girls are gonna try to kick my head in. So let's first see what I bring to the fight. My current Zwift racing score is 679. I honestly don't know why I'm ranked this high. I thought it'd be lower based on my parametrics and recent performances, but I suppose it is what it is. My VELO score is currently at 1772, and as you can see, it didn't move at all during the 10 stages of the FRR race series due to the rules in place for that competition, but it will be interesting to see what happens now that I'm doing races again that will update it. So at the time when I took this screenshot just before the start, there were close to 100 people registered for the race in my category, which is Zwift Racing Score 520 to 690, and over 50 in the top category. If we look at the VELO score, I am predicted to finish in 12th place, but as mentioned, with the mass start, it is really hard to tell what's going to happen. But I will set myself a goal of a top 20 finish in my category.
But don't you get too cocky.
Now, one thing to point out here, I have no idea what the Diamond Rider is doing in this category, but ho-hum. Okay, I honestly have no idea where my legs are today, but only one way to find out.
Let's race.
And we're off. So my tactics today were pretty straightforward. Given the mass start, I just wanted to hang on to the choo-choo train that the higher category would be driving, and just hope that they didn't push too hard.
You wish.
Now, this was a very spicy start. I had to push, for me at least, really high watts from the get-go. Not that that is unusual in a Zwift race, but usually this idiocy calms down pretty quickly, but not today. No sir, not by a long shot. After a minute, I was averaging close to 400 watts. And if we skip forward slightly here, we will see that at 3 minutes, I was still almost at 350 watt average. And at 5 minutes, I'm still over 320 watt average. So while this was not an all-out effort for me, it was not far from it either. And I think this may have been the hardest start I've ever had, where the start area is completely flat. I kept thinking, when are they gonna slow down? At 10 minutes in, and I'm still averaging over 310 watts. and I slowly come to the realization that we are not going to slow down after all. At this point, we're also still 127 strong in the peloton. That is a lot of people to keep this bullet train going choo-choo. Now, why did I pick this race again? I kept thinking to myself,
Do I really have to do this?
yes, you do, Sam. You do. You really do. So, we've skipped forward a bit here, and we are now fast approaching the Acqueduc. We've actually dropped almost 20 riders in the last 5 minutes. There were no major accelerations or anything. The pace was just consistently high, and I suppose people just couldn't keep the wheels anymore. I'm still close to 310 watts on average, and I'm preparing myself for an all-out effort here. To prepare, I move a bit further forward in the peloton so that I have more people to draft from if needed. Some people push really hard here, but I just wanted to push hard enough to stay in the pack, if you will. And if I'm honest, I was also starting to feel the overall effort at this point. So I really needed to save as much energy as I could. As we get to the top of the little climb, I hit my aero power up so I can rest as much as possible. But I still have to keep pushing to stay in the front pack. And the Acqueduc proved a pretty significant selection point, as I think about another 25 riders were dropped here from the front group. Another skip forward, now to the 25-minute mark. We have just a little over 5 kilometers to go, and my average is still high at over 310 watts, and I'm really feeling the effort now. There still have been no major accelerations or attacks, just a consistently high pace, and I now find myself constantly drifting backwards in the peloton, even though I am trying to stay in the middle of it. And that is never a good sign for me. The good news, however, is that there is now only around 70 riders left in the front group. But I can tell I am living on borrowed time here. Over the next couple of kilometers, the pace kept creeping up. And you can see that since my average is now a little bit higher than it was. At this point, I am just trying to hold on as best as I can, and I already used my draft power up, as otherwise I may have been dropped already. I managed the first 2 rollers okay, although I am deep in the red here. But as we go down the slight descent towards the last roller, I try to get a quick rest. But as soon as we start going up again, I have nothing left, and I have to sit up and unfortunately watch the front group ride away. Annoying, as it's really only 1.5 kilometers left at this point, but the tank was, as they say, empty.
It's empty.
I know it is.
I briefly collect myself, and then I keep plugging away as best as I can. And I do find another couple of riders in the same spot as myself. And I just try to draft as much as I can while still putting out some power. I know by now I don't have any big sprint left in me. So with 500 meters to go, I stand up and I just try to put out some decent watts at least. But unfortunately, it's not enough as I get passed by a couple of guys on the line. But as I already said, empty tank. So the results. Well, in the end, I finished in 17th place. A couple things to point out here. First, I'm actually quite happy with this result as I gave it everything I had. In fact, I set my best ever 30-minute power in the race. So even though I faded somewhat in the last kilometer, I think I did pretty well to hang on as long as I could. Second point. It is clear if you look at the VELO scores of the riders here that there is still some realignment to take place between VELO and Zwift Racing score. If we look at the first and third place, for example, these guys are diamond ranked racers in VELO, top of the top. Now, how they can be in the second Zwift Racing score category is beyond me. But it is what it is, and hopefully it will get better over time. Third point. My actual VELO score dropped 1 point from 1772 to 1771. I guess I finished a little bit below my predicted 12th spot, so I suppose that makes sense. But what doesn't make as much sense is point number 4, and that is my 4-point increase from 679 to 683 in my Zwift Racing score. Odd, but again, it is what it is. Although I'm now getting really close to moving up to the top category. And if I do, fine, I guess. But I really, really belong in the second one, I think. Overall, a good race. The performance and effort was there for sure, even if the finishing spot was not quite as high as I would have liked. But I did meet my goal of a top 20 finish in the end. All right, some post-race thoughts. Now that I've finally managed to pick myself up off the floor. I was there for quite a while, man. That was a tough race. Must admit, I knew it'd be hard because of the combined pens, but I didn't expect it to be that hard. That was essentially a 30-35 minute time trial for me. Just trying to stay in the bunch required me to produce a 30-minute power record. And I think I averaged, I don't know, 315 watts or something like that for over 30 minutes, which is, again, very good for me. So I can't really complain. I didn't manage to stay with the choo-choo train as it went full speed ahead in the last, I think it was kilometer and a half or so. I tried, just didn't have enough in the tank. So I think I finished in 16th, 17th or something, about 20 seconds behind the winners. But you know what? I'll take that. That was a good effort for me. So I can't really complain. Probably didn't make the most engaging video or content to watch. This is essentially just a big bunch that just punched each other around a bit. Nobody really, as far as I saw anyway, went off the front or tried some big brakes. It was just full gas from the start. Really, really hard. Not really done a race like that before, so that was kind of interesting. Whew. But I think I'll call it there. Got a couple of videos lined up for next week. Of course, we have Zwift Racing League on Tuesday. And then I also have either 1 or 2 club ladder races with Swedish Zwifters Ragnarok. So those should be really good ones as well. But this is Sam, trying to spin to win on Zwift. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.